The Senate will please come to order. We are returning from a brief recess, and the senator from Wyndham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I was hoping to take up H510. I was just talking with the reporter of the bill, and she clearly is not in the chamber yet, Madam President. So I wonder if we could get in recess for 5 minutes while we wait for the chair of the Committee of Finance. No, I know.
The Senate will stand in recess until the fall. The Senate will please come to order. The senator from Wyndham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President, and apologies for the delay. At this time, I ask that the rules be suspended and pending entry on the calendar for notice, we take up H510, an act relating to child tax credit.
The senator from Wyndham has moved that the rules be suspended and pending entry on the calendar for notice, H510, an act relating to child tax credit, be taken up for immediate consideration. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've suspended the rules and will now take up H510, an act relating to the Vermont Child Tax Credit and the Vermont Social Security Income Exclusion. There is now a report from the Committee of Conference on H510, and the senator from Washington, Senator Cummings, is recognized for the report.
Thank you, Madam President. My summary sheet, I have number 3 written. That's number 3 proposal from last evening. This has been a ping pong game of proposal and counter proposal. But I think we have arrived at a place where everybody is happy. As you remember, when the bill came to us, it was a child tax credit, and there was it was a child tax credit, and they spent $49 million, and the tax credit $1,200, and it phased out at $200,000 originally. That it was $1,200 a child, children 6 and under. I think the thing that kind of got the Committee in Finance, basically, we have some extra revenue this year. We don't know if it's going to come back next year. We think so, but we don't know. But this was an effort to try and share the bounty with taxpayers. And while we thought that the child tax credit was great, there's a whole lot of people out there that don't have kids under the age of 6. And it was pointed out to us, you could have 2 kids under the age of 6 and get $2,400 in tax credit and be making $200,000 a year. But you could have 4 kids over the age of 6 and about $50,000 a year, and you would get nothing. So your Committee on Finance since the beginning has been trying to take that, and we were told we had $40 million to play with by the Appropriations Committee, because then they could build their budget knowing that this $40 million was reserved. And we went about trying to spread out some of that money. We kept the child tax credit, but we also put money into the child independent care credit, because this helps higher income people for dependent parents or children. We did a deduction for student loan interest. We raised the Social Security exemption. But the House had done this too. We copied them and raised it by $8,000. We put in all the retirement things that were in the corporate income tax, the military retirement, the civil service retirement. We took all of those off 53 and put them in here. We appropriated money for the aged, blind, and disabled and for child care retention program. So we've been moving numbers. We have been trying to find a way to fund a tax credit that the House thought was large enough to meet their concerns. They kept saying, but this was a child tax credit bill. And so what they said is, all right, you shrunk the size of the box, but we'll split it 50-50. And their number was 31.8, almost $32 million. That's what they wanted in a tax credit. And we've been working through that. And it also came to our attention yesterday that the administration was very interested in doing the EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit, and raising that. Under the Child and Dependent Care, because EITC helps lower income families, the same families that the child tax credit would help. So in the end, the House came back and proposed last night that to do everything, we needed to raise some money. And they went and raised the registration fees for investors that sell mutual funds. There's 2,400 of them. Everybody that is selling mutual funds in this state registers all the people that they have selling their funds. The House came back, the House had originally proposed raising that to $250 when they were trying to find money for the corporate income tax. And the Committee on Finance has looked into it at that point. Last night they came back and said, well, we can do everything if we raise that mutual fund raise securities registration to $100. But we're willing to give up raising Social Security, the income you can make while your Social Security and your military retirement are, the AGI level. Now couples caps out at 70, it would ramp out at 78. And they said, that was our proposal, not do that. But if we do that, we aren't helping seniors in this bill. And so we came back and proposed, and the House had a very long discussion across the hall and agreed. And what we did in the end is we raised the securities registration renewal fee to $150. That gave us $3.6 million. And by doing that, we have a child tax credit for children 5 and under, preschool kids, $1,000 base credit. The phase out begins at $125,000 household income. It phases out at $175,000. And that will impact 33,470 children. We did the child and dependent care. We had to reduce that. When we originally started, we raised it to 100%. 100% of the federal credit is refundable. It's kind of a clunky system, but mostly it helps people with higher income or higher, moderate to higher, that have childcare expenses. Also covers things like after school, summer childcare, daycare programs. It also helps people that are caring for dependent parents or children, disabled adult children. So we had to lower that to 72%, but still better. We raised the EITC from 36% of the federal to 38%. We kept the student loan deductions. We kept the Social Security exemption, the military and civil service exemptions. We had also added in there the manufactured home tax credit, which I think we have passed in this body twice. It helps people of lower income that are trying to upgrade or buy a new mobile home. So we had added that. We kept the appropriation for the aged, blind, and disabled. We kept the child care retention payment. And so basically, we kept everything that we had been put in. The House split the difference child tax credit. The administration got an increase in the EITC, and we hope this body will concur.
The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report proposed by the Committee of Conference on H 510? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've accepted and adopted the report proposed by the Committee of Conference on H 510. Senator from Wyndham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to take S 234, Act relating to
I believe it was on our calendar for finished business. We passed over it previously. We now have in the calendar S 234, an act relating to changes to Act 250. The House has proposed the Senate to amend the bill as set forth on page 5618 of today's calendar. And the senator from Chittenden, Senator Chittenden, is recognized for the House proposal of amendment.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have two handouts I was hoping to be distributed. I rise today with an amendment that has come through different evolutions over the past 48 hours. And what I'm asking to have passed around now is a letter inspired from Mayor Miro Weinberger and another letter signed on by 7 mayors from the great state of Vermont, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, as well as many other people that are at the field of building affordable housing. These letters are why I introduced this amendment. The Mayor of Winooski and the Mayor of Burlington in my district are at the epicenter of the housing crisis in the great state of Vermont. They expressed very serious concerns with sections 25 through 41 of this bill. Sections 25 and 41, quoting from this letter that these 7 mayors, as well as housing advocates and people that are actually trying to build the housing in this state that we need, I'm taking a direct quote from it, which it says, in this time when Vermont faces a severe housing crisis, returning to a system similar to the previous dysfunctional and inefficient appeals process is the wrong way to go. It was this testimony that I took from people in my district that compelled me to not support sections 25. For that reason, I drafted an amendment that would remove those to be considered. Through further conversations, I now would like to ask to withdraw this amendment, if I may, Madam President. But I will still say with that preface, I cannot support S234 and I will be voting no.
Thank you, Senator. The underlying question then is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on S 234? I do believe there needs to be a report on that proposal of amendment. The Senator from Addison, Senator Bray, is recognized.
So I'll be reading S234 on votes we have passed and sent to the House, where the S234 conditions themselves were only very narrowly adjusted. However, when they returned it to us, they added their bill H492, the government structure of the natural resources to it. So I will just very briefly remind people of what those are, and then spend a little more time on the second half of the bill that relates to governance reform and natural resources. Again, so these are provisions we passed. The changes are modest as they came back from the House. But Section 1 addresses, allows multiple towns to file applications for neighborhood development areas. It also allows them to develop hazard areas suitable for infill development as defined by current PNR rule. It requires that a neighborhood development area have a density of 4 residential any time within 2. It requires that new town centers have a density of 4 residential. 3, no municipal land permit, no municipal land use permit for site plan or conditional use shall expire in less than 2 years. In Section 4, we implemented the municipal grant program to allow some of the funds to go to new grants established in Section 546. program is broad, and the project can range from developing a town plan to adopting new permanent or temporary bylaws and updating bylaws. Section 5, we basically address 2020-0307, it's municipal bylaw modernization grant program to provide towns with funding. In section 6, we provide that of the funding provided in 2023, a portion shall be used for municipal bylaw revisions specified in the previous section. In 7, we check the towns from requiring more than one parking space per bedroom for an ADU, accessory development. In section 8, we move into Act 250 provisions that will sound familiar. It raises the cap on the number of housing projects, units that are exempt from Act 250 in small towns, from 50 units. We update and cross-reference new A&R language on flood hazard areas, river corridors, and we expand the definition of priority housing projects in neighborhood development areas to include mixed-use development. In section 9, we go on to amend the exemption section of Act 250. It simplifies that exemption for priority housing projects, so no permit or permit amendment is needed. In section 10, we repeal 10 VSA 634F and creating a simplified process that currently exists for amending permits for priority housing projects. It's directly connected to the prior section. In section 11, we update criterion 1B of Act 250. That is the criterion related to flood hazard areas and river corridors. In section 12, this is I've been calling it the shot clock provision. It requires the town to respond to requests from Act 250 applicants within 90 days, or the application shall be deemed to have no unreasonable burden, therefore would advance. And that's under criteria 6 and 7. So 1 is impacts on the 6 is educational system impacts, and 7 is impacts on municipal and government services. Now we come to sections that will also sound familiar, section 13. This is where we add a new criterion 8C to address forest blocks and connecting habitat to be considered in Act 250. In section 14, we add the new criteria Act 250, which requires applicants to not cause undue adverse impacts to forest blocks, connecting habitats, and rare and irreplaceable natural areas. In section 15, in order to implement this new criterion, there's a detailed development process and rulemaking. In section 16, we've required A&R to provide tools that will be of assistance to those who are implementing the law, and that is mapping tools related to forest blocks and connecting habitats. In section 17, we move on to the wood products manufacturer sections. Section 17 provides definitions. Section 18 provides other conditions for wood product manufacturers, allowing some operations on nights, weekends, and holidays for delivery from forest operations and delivery of wood fuel from those facilities. Section 19, we reduce this is a house change. It reduces the fee for primary ag soil mitigation for wood products manufacturers. Currently, it would be either 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio, and it is now reduced to 1. The monies from those offsets go to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board to conserve prime ag soils elsewhere. In section 20, the House has added intent language for our section 21, and it's clarified that the statutory language we provide in 21 is supposed to reflect the current practice and not change how jurisdiction is calculated for 1-acre towns. 21 itself provides that language to clarify original legislative intent, and it's the basis for 50 years of the natural resources at the district commissions and natural resources board. Sections 22 through 24 are reports to help us The world of planning, particularly as is in constant change, and so we have reports coming back to help us improve our abilities to plan in future sessions. In 22, we asked for reports on Act 250 jurisdiction over agricultural businesses. Some people have talked about these as ag innovation businesses or ag business. But it's a sort of an emerging concept, and we don't, the Act 250 is not currently well designed at the moment to address those applications. In 23, the report on designated areas. So everyone's familiar with designated downtowns, neighborhood development areas, new town centers, et cetera. They have grown up in sort of an ad hoc fashion over time, and this asks the Department of Housing and Community Development to hire a consultant, review that program, and see if we might reorganize in a more effective, streamlined, easier to use manner. In section 24, there's a report from the Natural Resources Board back to the General Assembly on various Act 250 topics, including how to transition to location-based jurisdiction, use the capability and development plan in Act 250 work, use and to assess the effectiveness of the current fee structure, as well as assess current staffing. All that material probably sounds very familiar because most all that we have already passed before in 234 proper. Now we're on to provisions that were added in 492. This is changes to governance of the Natural Resources Board. There's section 25 is a purpose section. Section 26 amends the statute, which establishes the NRB and changes the name of the board to the Environmental Review Board. And that board should have 5 members appointed by the governor after applicants are reviewed by an Environmental Review Board nominating committee. The chair shall be a full-time position. The other 4 members shall be half-time. It adds language for the types of skills sought and encourages diversity in the membership of the board for 5 years, and there are alternates. Terms start on July 1 and on June 30, and vacancies are to be filled for the remainder of the term. Members may seek reappointment, and members are only removable by other board members for cause after notice and hearing using procedures adopted by the board. And finally, retiring board members may remain part of the case until that is concluded. In section 27, we have a new section which establishes the Environmental Review Board nominating committee. The nominating committee shall advertise for vacancies in the board, review applicants, and recommend qualified candidates to the governor. In section 28, we direct the board to adopt rules and procedures for hearings. Section 29, we amend the powers of the board. It adds language reaffirming the supervisory authority of the board and the commission, requires the boards to establish its decisions online. It also gives the board power to hear appeals. This is in addition to the board's existing duties and statute, which include the following: administering oaths, taking depositions, calling the attendance of witnesses, and requirement of the production of evidence. Secondly, enter upon lands of parties before it and for investigation, to apply and receive grants, to manage the workload of the district commission, allow for joint hearings, to publish an index of decisions, including its own, to manage the process for issuing to initiate enforcement, to hear petitions for revocation of permits, and to hear appeals for fund requests. In section 30, we go on to provide additional detail on authorities. It gives the board authority to hire additional permanent personnel. States that the board shall hire an executive director. Directors at executive director shall be supervising and administrating operations and communication of the Act 250 and its board rules. Secondly, assisting the board in its duties. Third, employing such staff as may be required to carry out the functions of the board. And 4, preparing an annual budget for submission. Section 31, we shift the burden of providing notice of applications to the district commission and requires notice to be posted in the website. And 32, we strike references to e-court and clarify that requests to stay appointment should be made to the board, no longer to the court. Section 33, we provide the procedure for Section 34, we give the board authority to hear appeals, jurisdictional opinions issued by the commission, and appeals must be filed within 30 days. Section 35 deals with fees and establishes $295 as the filing fee for an appeal. Section 36 removes the Environmental Division's authority to hear Act 250 permit and jurisdictional opinion appeals. And 37 amends the jurisdiction of the Environmental Division to remove its jurisdiction over revoking Act 250 permits because the board will now take on that duty. Deal with appropriations, transition, and effective dates. 38 appropriates $384,000 to the Environmental Review Board for new staff attorney and salaries and 4 new half-time board members. 39 transfers the personnel of the Natural Resources Board to the Environmental Review Board. 40 gives the Environmental Division the authority to teach work on pending appeals until July 1 of 2024. 41 gives the revision authority to Legislative Council to change the references to the NRB to the ERB throughout our green books, session law, and Section 42 is effective dates. So the bill is effective on passage other than Section 14, the new criterion 8C for blocks takes effect on September 1, 2024 after rules have been adopted. And sections 36 and 37, which are the sections on the authority of the Environmental Division, are effective July 1, 2024, when the board would then take over the appeal duties thereafter. That completes my report on the bill. The Natural Resources Committee reviewed this and recommends it to the Senate that we concur. The committee position was 4-1-0.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment on S 234? Are you ready for the question? The senator from Bennington is recognized.
Madam President, may I inquire the reporter of the bill?
You may.
Madam President, I'm particularly focused on Section 25. And I'm looking at the creation or the moving the duties of the Environmental Division, or as I refer to it as the Environmental Court, to a 5-member board. And then I see a term, Madam President, that I may read from on page 5630. This term will allow the Act 250 program to return how it was originally envisioned and enacted by being a citizen-friendly process. Madam President, does this mean that we would be voting for language that suggests the Environmental Court is not a citizen-friendly process?
I'm not sure how I would to answer that question. Rather than it being either or, perhaps we might interpret it as more citizen-friendly. The original, I think where this comment comes from, which was sent to us in House's version, is that Act 250 had a more localized, many of the duties were more localized at the outset, years ago. And people talk about easier going process going to a grain trawl where people, the regional environmental board had traveled to the area, meets at the grain, and they have the hearing. Subsequent to 2004, when the environmental board was removed and appeals started to go to the environmental court, that citizen-friendly perhaps is, I think the intent there of the language is that going to court may appear to the average citizen a less friendly situation than going to the grain trawl to a hearing of an appeal in your local town.
Madam President, I guess I'd have to ask the citizens of Pollock who went to court over the Slate Ridge shooting range whether or not they felt that the only place that they got any sort of comfort was from the Environmental Division of our courts. made a ruling that has changed that whole process. They went through a lot. Many of the neighbors, I think it's been well documented, some of the things that happened to those folks, some of the fights that occurred, maybe not physical. I would certainly, if I were a member of this body, Madam President, I can't vote for a bill that suggests that our courts are less than citizen-friendly. I think this is objective language, and I realize we're at a late hour, and I'm objecting to something on principle, but I think it should be strucken, excuse me, getting the right term. I don't think it belongs in legislation in the green books that we're going to pass. So I would offer an amendment to strike that sentence.
Senator, I'm going to speak quite clearly about the sentence I believe that you'd like to have struck.
Yes.
So the senator from Bennington is offering a further proposal of amendment that the sentence on page 5630 under section 25, heading purpose, and I believe it's the second to last sentence, and the sentence is, this change would not allow the Act 250 program to return to how it was originally envisioned when enacted by being a citizen-friendly process.
That's correct, Madam.
Like the entire sentence.
That's correct, Madam.
Okay. The question is, shall the Senate concur? The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House proposal of amendment with a further proposal of amendment as proposed by the senator from Bennington? Are you ready for the senator from Addison is recognized?
Thank you, and I think the chair agrees here. It is a little vexing to have, I would say, something along the lines of editorial commentary in a statutory. I would say, the question I would raise, though, for us to consider is a procedural one, and that is, if at this point we concur with further amendment on the last day of the session, we return this bill to the House, or that would be its ultimate destination. And so I would ask Senator might be willing to withdraw the proposal of amendment.
It appears that my choices, Madam President, are withdraw the amendment or vote no on the bill, which would be seen as something extra. You know, I can obviously explain it to my constituents, but I not support. I don't think it's my fault, Madam President, that we're at the 11th hour and we have language like this that's headed to the green books that lawyers will look at in the future and wonder, what did the legislature intend? This is my problem. And I'm sorry we're at the 11th hour and this got by. You know, mistakes happen. I understand that. But should we allow this language to be codified? That's the question for the Senate. I'm sorry I found it. I'm sorry I read the bill, because I know it has consequences. So I'd ask for a brief recess.
The Senate will stand in recess until the fall of the gavel.
Good point.
The Senate will please come to order. We are returning from a brief recess, and the senator from Wyndham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Any announcements, I move that the Senate stand in adjournment until 9:30 this afternoon.
Recess.
No, adjourned.
Adjournment. Okay. The senator from Wyndham has moved that subject to any announcements, the Senate do adjourn until 1:30 p.m. today, Thursday, May 12th. Are there any announcements? Senator from Wyndham is recognized.
Madam President, at this time, I move that the rules be suspended and that we message our actions on H 510 and act relating to the child tax credit to the House forthwith.
The senator from Wyndham has moved that the rules be suspended and H 510, an act relating to the child tax credit, be messaged to the House forthwith. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and you suspended the rules and messaged H 510 to the House forthwith. Are there any additional announcements? The senator from Wyndham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. If Senate Government Operations can meet at 1:15 for just a few minutes, I think we have one more bill to look at.
Are there any additional announcements? Hearing none, the senator from Wyndham has moved that the Senate stand in adjournment until 1:30 p.m. today, Thursday, May 12th. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate stands adjourned.